Welcome to Fun Facts Daily, your source for just the good stuff. Monday through Friday, we're bringing fun facts and news you can use, all carefully curated to uplift and inform. So give yourself a break, relax, and learn something awesome in just a few minutes every day. Hi everyone, I'm Kyle Wood, and today we're going to be learning all about gardening. But before we get into the facts, let's warm up our brains with a little challenge to see if you can tell fact from fiction. Consider this. We've all heard that talking to your plants can help them grow, with many assuming that it's because of the extra carbon dioxide we exhale onto the leaves. But some botanists claim that plants actually have a physical response to the specific sound frequencies and vibrations of human speech, meaning they can sort of hear you and grow faster as a result. What do you think? Are your plants actually listening to you talk? We'll find out at the end of the episode. Now for your word of the day. Our word for today is photosynthesis. That's PHOTOSYNTHESIS. The word photosynthesis was originally coined in the late 19th century from two Greek roots, photo meaning light, and synthesis, which would translate to putting together or combining. Photosynthesis is the incredible scientific process that plants use to actively transform sunlight into food they need to survive and grow. Essentially, it's the ultimate form of solar power, green energy that every ecosystem on Earth relies on. It all starts with the plant's leaves, which act like tiny, highly efficient solar panels to capture the sun's warm rays. At the same time, the plant breathes in carbon dioxide or CO2 from the air, and it pulls liquid water, H2O, up from the dirt through its root system. Using the energy from the captured sunlight, the plant actually breaks down the water and carbon dioxide, completely recombining these molecules to create glucose, a type of energy-rich sugar. The chemical reaction would be 6 CO2, that's the 6 parts carbon dioxide, plus 6 H2O, or 6 parts water, plus light energy, gives us C6H12O6. That's the glucose plus 6O2. So as a brilliant, life-saving byproduct of this complex chemical reaction, the plant releases fresh, clean oxygen right back into the atmosphere for all of us to breathe. Time for your daily high five, our top 5 fun facts about gardening. Number 1. Most people rush to harvest their entire vegetable garden before the first winter freeze, but leaving certain crops in the icy ground will actually make them taste significantly sweeter. While not every vegetable benefits from a delayed harvest, some cold-hardy root vegetables and leafy greens have an incredible biological defense mechanism against freezing temperatures. When the thermometer drops below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, these plants immediately begin converting their stored energy starches into natural sugars. The sudden influx of sugar effectively lowers the freezing point of the water inside the plant's cells, acting like a sort of biological antifreeze. By filling their cellular walls with sugar, the plants prevent sharp ice crystals from forming and rupturing their internal structures. For a patient gardener, the plant's survival tactic actually gives a delicious side effect. Harvesting after a hard frost yields a crop that's noticeably sweeter and more tender than the exact same vegetable would have been if it were picked in the heat of July. As I said, this doesn't work with everything in your garden, but many favorites like carrots, parsnips, kale, Brussels sprouts, Swiss chard, turnips, collard greens, and rutabagas will all taste noticeably better if you can delay harvest until the weather gets a bit cooler. Number 2. When certain plants are attacked by hungry insects, they release invisible chemical distress signals into the air to warn their neighbors of impending danger. While plants may seem completely stationary and passive, they actually possess highly sophisticated invisible defense mechanisms that operate right under our noses. When a plant experiences physical damage from a chewing insect like a caterpillar, it immediately begins synthesizing and emitting specific volatile organic compounds into the surrounding air. These airborne chemicals function as an active alarm system that drifts outward to be intercepted by the leaves of nearby uninjured plants. Once the neighboring plants detect these volatile organic compounds, they preemptively activate their own internal defense systems before the insect can arrive. They begin pumping up foul-tasting, toxic chemicals into their leaves to make themselves unappetizing to approaching pests. Even more amazingly, some of these chemical distress signals are actually specifically formulated to attract predatory wasps and birds that naturally feed on the exact insect causing the damage. Number 3. Deep inside a frozen mountain near the North Pole, there's a heavily fortified bunker containing over 1 million distinct crop seeds from around the world. On the remote Norwegian archipelago of Svalbard, the Svalbard Global Seed Vault serves as the ultimate botanical insurance policy for the human race. The facility was carved nearly 400 feet deep into solid rock, utilizing the natural permafrost to keep its contents frozen, even in the event of a power failure. Inside the highly secure vault-like doors, massive shelves hold carefully sealed packages containing the seeds of virtually every agricultural crop known to humanity. It's designed to withstand natural disasters, global conflicts, and climate change to ensure that our foundational food sources are never permanently lost. The vault operates much like a safety deposit box at a traditional bank, where countries and indigenous communities from all over the world can deposit their seeds for free. If a regional agricultural system is completely wiped out by disease or extreme weather, the originating country can withdraw their backup seeds to restart their farming industry. The facility only opens a few times a year for these deposits and withdrawals, remaining sealed and unstaffed for the rest of the time to maintain its frigid, stable environment. Number 4. The earthworms that keep our garden soil healthy and perfectly aerated were actually an invasive species brought to North America by early European colonists. Most modern gardeners consider earthworms to be some of their greatest allies, but the northern regions of the United States and Canada were actually worm-free for thousands of years. During the last ice age, massive glaciers scraped across the northern half of the continent, freezing the ground solid and entirely wiping out the native earthworm population. When the ice finally left, the northern forests slowly regrew and adapted to an ecosystem that relied on fungi and bacteria rather than worms to break down fallen leaves. This delicate, wormless balance existed perfectly for millennia until the arrival of European settlers. When early colonists sailed across the Atlantic, they brought along potted botanical specimens and ships filled with dirt ballast that secretly harbored European earthworms. Once introduced to the pristine North American soil, these highly efficient decomposers multiplied rapidly and began aggressively chewing through the dense layers of organic matter on the forest floor. While their ability to quickly churn and aerate the dirt is very beneficial for growing traditional garden vegetables and agricultural crops, it actually disrupted the native forest ecosystems. Today, these hardworking imported invertebrates are considered essential for backyards and farms, even if they're technically a relatively recent addition and an invasive species on the continent. And our fifth and final fun fact for today: Just a single teaspoon of healthy garden soil has more living organisms than there are human beings on our entire planet. We tend to think of dirt from our backyard as just inert, lifeless dust waiting to hold the plant's roots in place. But rich topsoil is actually one of the most biodiverse and densely populated habitats anywhere on Earth. It's teeming with microscopic activity. If you scoop up just 1 teaspoon of healthy organic soil, you're holding roughly 8 billion individual microorganisms in the palm of your hand. There's a vast array of bacteria, fungi, algae, and microscopic nematodes that all work together in a complex subterranean food web. And this team of microscopic organisms is the driving force behind a successful, flourishing garden. As these microbes live, eat, and reproduce, they constantly break down dead organic matter and convert it into bioavailable nutrients that plant roots can easily absorb. Without all those microorganisms doing that decomposition work, the plants would starve. They'd be completely incapable of extracting raw minerals from rock and clay on their own. So, when you add compost to your garden beds, you're actually not feeding the plants directly. You're feeding the billions of microbes that run the soil's critical nutrient factory. And here's a quick little bonus fact for today. Getting your hands dirty in that microbe-rich soil can actually boost your mood. Regular garden soil is home of a harmless bacterium called Mycobacterium vaccae, which, when inhaled or introduced through small cuts on the skin, actively stimulates the human immune system to release serotonin. The neurological effects of the soil-dwelling bacterium are so powerful, scientists often refer to it as a natural antidepressant. So the science would indicate that gardening is not just good for your flowers, it's also good for your mood. Now for some news you can use. When you finish your breakfast and get ready to go out to the garden on a beautiful morning, you can actually use some of your kitchen scraps to help you get the job done better. Instead of throwing away used coffee grounds, sprinkle a ring of them directly onto the soil around plants that are prone to being eaten by slugs and snails, like hostas or lettuce. The coffee grounds are actually helpful in 2 ways. First, the incredibly sharp, jagged, microscopic edges of the grounds make soft-bodied pests absolutely hate crossing the terrain. It's like stepping on a field of Legos. Second, the residual trace amounts of caffeine actually act as a neurotoxin to the bugs, while the grounds themselves slowly decompose to provide a gentle dose of nitrogen directly to your plant's roots. You can also use empty eggshells to help some summer vegetables like tomatoes. Tomatoes can get a condition known as blossom end rot. It's that sort of sunken black rotting spot at the very bottom of a tomato. But it's not caused by a bug or a fungus. It's from a lack of calcium. Tomatoes are heavy feeders that require massive amounts of calcium to build the strong cellular walls necessary to support the heavy, water-filled fruit. And this is where the eggshells come in. Try crushing your leftover eggshells as finely as possible, and then bury a handful deep in the planting hole right beneath the roots of your new tomato seedlings. Because the eggshells are composed of about 95% calcium carbonate, burying them provides a slow-release natural calcium supplement right where the plant needs it most. As the microbes in the soil break down the shells throughout the summer, the plant's roots absorb the vital minerals so you can grow flawless, healthy tomatoes. Finally, the moment you've been waiting for. At the beginning of the episode, I asked, can your plants hear you talking to them? And does that really stimulate growth just through the sound vibrations? Oddly enough, yeah, That's a fact. While plants obviously don't have ears or brains to comprehend the English language, they are incredibly sensitive to mechanical stimuli, including the physical vibrations created by sound waves. When you speak to a plant, the sound waves travel through the air and create microscopic physical vibrations against the plant's leaves and stems. Rigorous scientific studies have shown that exposing plants to specific acoustic frequencies can trigger a biological response that alters their gene expression and speeds up their growth rate. Some plants use these vibrations to their advantage. For instance, certain flowers can sense the specific acoustic hum of an approaching bee, and they'll rapidly pump extra sugar into their nectar to reward the pollinator. Other experiments have shown that the sound of munching caterpillars causes plants to preemptively release defense chemicals, proving they are actively sort of listening to their environment. Now, I hope you enjoyed learning a bit about gardening with me today, and be sure to tune in every weekday for even more fun facts. Fun Facts Daily is an Airwave Media podcast. It was written, recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Kyle Wood. Thanks for sharing a part of your day with me. Be sure to follow Fun Facts Daily on your favorite podcast app so you can keep the good stuff coming your way every day. And if you like the show, please do me a favor and leave a kind rating, review, or just tell your friends about it.